Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the North Lincolnshire series, a district of 56 parishes in the north of Lincolnshire. Let's see which one we're visiting today. Right, today in North Lincolnshire we have a bright sunny day, which is a massive improvement on the last time you saw me in this district when I was getting drenched in Redbourne. Here we're starting in a churchyard, and would you look at this magnificent church with a tall green spire. I'll have to go some though to beat the tallest spire I've ever seen on the channel. Bonus points if you can tell me where that is, but it's certainly not here. I can tell you what is here though. You might be able to hear in the background a helicopter flying around. There's plenty of, shall we say, airborne vehicles around this part of North Lincolnshire because we're near Humberside Airport. This is the village of Kermington. This North Lincolnshire episode is sponsored by Past Days, a family history blog by June Terrington. You'll find her link in the description. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Today we're in Kermington and there's quite a bit to explore in this one, not least of which is the fabulous St Helena's Church, where we start our main walk around. This is a Grade 2 listed building in both the perpendicular and decorated style, with a chancel, nave, vestry and a 12th century tower. In 1838 a wooden spire covered in copper was added. St Helena was the mother of Roman Emperor Constantine, who was the founder of the city of Constantinople, now known as Istanbul. We've got a war memorial to see too in the churchyard, but this is by no means the largest memorial in Kermington. That's because this is a village heavily associated with the RAF. The village school is Kermington St Helena's Church of England Primary School, built in 1882 and extended with additional facilities for preschool children in 2007. In 1888, the Earl of Yarborough had almshouses built for 4 poor parishioners. That's these buildings here. Both these and the school can be seen from the churchyard. Just before we leave the churchyard behind, here's one of the 2 parish notice boards we came across in Kermington. My trusty TVI card-wielding assistant Nikki is with me today, by the way. Moving on to Main Street, we have the Kirmington Garden of Remembrance. It commemorates wartime activity in the area, but specifically 166 Squadron, who were based here. RAF Kermington started construction in 1941 and was opened as an airfield in October 1942. It closed in 1945, and during World War II, some prisoners of war were held here in POW Camp 292A. Here's a fragment of Lancaster ND-913 A4-M2 of 115 Squadron Witchford, placed here as a 166 Squadron memorial. Kermington's wartime history is also immortalised with its twinning with Terbregge in the Netherlands. The relationship commemorates Operation Manna, in which planes dropped 3,000 food parcels in April and May 1945. There's just time to have a look inside the old red telephone box as well before we move on to the High Street. Buses next, and if you need one to Kermington, you'll have to be pretty specific with your journey times. There's only one bus, 5 times a day, Monday to Friday only. It's the number 4 to Scunthorpe. This is Post Office Lane, which connects the High Street and Main Street to East End, a residential area in the south of the village. The second parish notice board can be found on the wall of Armstrong Agricultural, this white building on the corner of Post Office Lane. These days there's no post office here and there's also no shops. But there is a village pub, and this is the unusually named Marrowbone and Cleaver. It was founded in 1871 by T.M. Frankish, who was both a butcher and the pub landlord, and that explains the name. Not far away from that is the old Wesleyan Methodist Chapel dated 1884. On Gravel Pit Lane, which the route we took didn't go along, there was also a primitive Methodist chapel. Regular noise from the sky is something you'd have to get used to if you lived here. Here's an example of one of the many helicopters which fly over the village. We'll discuss them later. Now my eyesight is not the best and I can't read what it says above this door here. HCBDA. Can you see what it says, Nikki?
It says headquarters 1984, I think. I think it's not. I'll have a closer look.
A closer look, alright. Let me come with you.
Yes, 1984. But it looks to be pretty much abandoned. It's very overgrown. You know, there's obviously a big
lock on the gate.
Lock and chain.
I wonder what it was.
Yeah, well, could it be a bowls club maybe? Because these signs have got...
Possibly. After we got home, we learned the HCBDA building was indeed a former bowls club, like Nikki had suspected. Here's a nice looking farmhouse on Croxton Road. And here's that same helicopter again, this time much lower, so I could get a clearer shot of it. I'm no expert on aircraft, but there are people out there who may well appreciate this. Now we're on East End, where the footpath stopped for a while. Given all the RAF involvement here, it's easy to overlook Kermington's much more ancient history. It was an important location to both the Coriol Torvi tribe and later to the Romans. It's situated on an ancient route going through the Lincolnshire Wolds. In the 1st century AD, the Romans would build an auxiliary fort on the settlement. The fort would be abandoned over time and the settlement would become a Romano-British town. It's quite funny what a difference a few days makes, because as I said at the beginning, the last time you saw me in North Lincolnshire it was absolutely tipping it down, and now I'm debating whether or not I'm overdressed because it's very warm. We're sweating, aren't we?
Yeah, doing me a bake.
This next section of the walk is very residential, so here's some more interesting bits and bobs I found out about the village. Kermington was, until 2011, part of the civil parish of Kermington and Croxton. Croxton, a small hamlet to the northwest, is now a separate civil parish in its own right. However, the two still share a parish council. Kermington often appears spelt with an E as opposed to an I in older records. It's not clear when the current spelling came about. Aside from the aircraft overhead, it's a very sleepy village now compared to how active the area must have been in the war. Even Wallace and Gromit like living here, it seems. I should point out too that in 2016 the Marrowbone and Cleaver pub was renovated. As part of that, a much more detailed history of Kermington is now displayed within the building. With not much more to see down East End, I headed back to this footpath where I found a very hot and bothered Nikki. This takes us back to part of the village we've already seen. So it's nice to be on a shady footpath out of the sun for a little bit. This brings us out at the church again. Now, Kermington has a couple more things to see. There's a little industrial estate which is opposite the church, which I'll catch before we end the main walk, and then we're going to go and see some planes and some helicopters, apart from the ones we've already seen, as we go and explore RAF Kermington, better known today as Humberside Airport. After walking back into the churchyard via the footpath, Nikki spotted two things of interest. One was this tree, which reminded me a lot of Nellie's tree seen in the Leeds series. The second was a small paddock with two horses in it. One of them was quite shy, but the other had no problems coming to say hello to us.
Good job there's no graves down here that you're nicking flowers off, isn't there, eh? Eh, not like the ones in the USA where the deer go and nick the flowers.
All we have left to see now, on foot at least, is Kermington Business Centre, dominated by Concord House. There are several companies based here, the most notable one being Keyzo. Keyzo occupy 3 units. They build HR software for pretty much any industry going. Here's a handy list of all the companies that can be found on the industrial estate. The former prisoner of war camp is located right next to the industrial estate, but there were signs saying private road, so we didn't venture down to it. That's why the internet exists. Now, do I hear calls for picture bits? Of course I do. Here that comes right now. So what you're looking at here is both the former RAF Kermington and the current Humberside International Airport. The site has seen all kinds of aviation activity since 1941. Whilst Humberside is an international airport, it's not one you'd consider to be major. It faces competition from other local ones like Doncaster Sheffield, Leeds, Bradford and East Midlands. Where we're standing here is a nice little viewing area which can be found off the road to Graspy and Cabourn, just to the south of the main village. Humberside only operates a handful of passenger services. There's regular services to Aberdeen and Amsterdam, and seasonal flights to Burgos, Jersey, Newquay and Palma de Mallorca. Now, as good as this little car park is for plane spotters and aviation enthusiasts, it's no good for you because at this distance you can't really see the airport. But no matter, we're going to get a little bit closer. The camera is going on the dashboard and we'll drive up to it and see if we can get a clearer view. So let's get a little closer to the action. Here's some more history. When RAF Kermington opened in 1941, number 166 Squadron operated the Avro Lancaster, Lincolnshire's most famous aircraft. The site was abandoned after the war and laid unused until 1974, when the local council reopened the site as an airport. Initially, it was called Kermington Airport. When the local area was renamed itself to Humberside following local government reorganisation in England, the name was changed to Humberside Airport. The old RAF runways were lengthened. The main runway was extended to its current length in 1992, allowing operation of much larger aircraft. It was owned from 1999 to 2012 by the Manchester Airports Group, or MAG for short, who are the largest UK-owned airport group. It was sold thereafter to the Eastern Group of companies. The airline Eastern Airways has its head office at Sheephole House on the airport property. As we found out whilst walking around, Humberside's main activity comes in the form of helicopters rather than planes. CHC and Unifly are the helicopter companies based here. The airport is used to service the offshore gas storage and drilling operations, with over 5,000 air transport helicopter movements in 2016, coming in at the 4th highest in the UK. And there you have it, that has been the parish of Kermington. You couldn't have written this script, could you? This little lay-by on this road here, where we can see the airport in all its glory. There's a plane up above. He's not landing though, he's just flying over, just passing. Maybe next time. What do we think of Kermington, Nikki?
Yeah, it's been really good. I mean, I'm hot, I'm tired, I've caught the sun, you know, I'm matching, you know. But yeah,
Your face is matching your top.
Yeah, it's been lovely. It's another fabulous little village which has got lots of interesting stuff about it. So, I mean, what else is there really? You know, as long as it's got the important stuff.
Well, you're not going to get much more interesting than an old airfield that's been turned into an international airport, are you?
Well, no.
And we don't see one of those every time on the channel, every episode, do we? But we have here.
It's definitely not been a busy airport, this one, apart from this flipping helicopter. I tell you what, if I lived in that village, I'd be right on my soapbox about that helicopter circling, because it's been doing that for about the last hour, hasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm sure he had his reasons though, so
Yeah, probably.
it's none of our business. Anyway, time for me to move on to my next one here in North Lincolnshire. I've been Andy, and you've been Nikki, and I've been the Village Idiot.
And I've been Mrs. Village Idiot, and I'm going to go home and get a cold drink and
Chill out for a bit.
yeah, rest my aching feet.
And we're out.